All right, guys, we are back here at Spain Park with the 7A state champs. Congratulations to all you guys.
Thank you.
When we talked last time, we talked about the journey and what it was going to take, and now you guys have completed that journey. And I want to start right here with Camille, because Camille, you actually guaranteed victory.
I, Camille Chase, personally promise that we will win a state championship.
Which I looked at Coach and asked him, could I put that on film? And he said, hey, you guys are the ones that's got to play. For you to say that, I think you knew something about this team was special. Can you elaborate on that, and how did it feel once it actually came true?
I think it was meant to be. This was our year. It was a perfect setup. We got to play Hoover in the championship. Even though I didn't get to play, I knew that we could pull it off, and I knew that my teammates had my back in that game.
And you mentioned you didn't get to play against McGill. You went down with an injury, and you came back out and fought, and actually went down no contact again. That's when I was in the crowd with the other guys, and we were like, yeah, there's something major wrong there. But when you went down that first time, I noticed there Ashlee was the one that was there. What was that conversation like between you two guys?
She was just squeezing my hand. I knew she was in pain. I've seen her go down in the season sometimes before, and that was like no other. I knew that she was hurting, and it was and then there was something wrong. Because usually she's just like, I say I got it, just go back to the bench. But she kept me there. She squeezed my hand, and I just told her we got her, and that we'll get through it. And if she's ready to come back out and play, she can play. But we're gonna do whatever we can to keep winning.
And Coach, that being, I know obviously you love everybody on your team, but it being your daughter, was it a little bit different to see her like that? And how did you block that out and continue to coach like you did?
Man, it was hard. There was all kinds of a flood of things going through my head. I knew that, it's kind of like what Sarah Ashlee said when she fouled out of the game. She came out and she was crying and she was feeling for herself. And immediately she said she had to snap back in it because her team needed her. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of the same thing. I walked over. I knew that something was wrong. We got the best trainer and we got the best staff. So I knew that if they could get her back in the game, they were going to make the right decision. She went back. I think she was probably going on a little adrenaline. She came back, I turned around, and next thing you know, she was sitting behind me. She was a little teary, and she's like, I'm ready to go. And I'm like, okay, maybe this ain't as bad as I thought it was. But I think eventually after a trip down or two, that adrenaline wore off, and then that knee was, not going to be ready to go. So it was tough. I think I was able to get through the game, but then after the game, it was tough going in that media room. And, on one hand, you're happy for your team, you're going to the state championship. On the other half, I still didn't really know the extent of what, her injury and stuff was. And like you said, it wouldn't be any different if it was her or Avery or any other kid on my team. But, I did hold her in my hands as a little baby.
It's a little bit different.
There's a I'll give her there's a little difference there.
Camille, when you went down that second time, and it was like in the football we said non-contact, and you kind of went down, you were coming back up the court. Well, you knew then that this season was probably over for you, I'm sure. And what was the emotions running through your head at that time?
I kind of felt sorry for myself, I felt like I was letting my team down. But then after the game and the next couple days, all my teammates and my parents and my family were like, they've got your back. They will play for you because they love you, and that really got me through.
And how much of that did play in? I know you said that actually on Instagram that we're going to do this for her, and how much of that did play in for motivation? If you needed more motivation to play your rival for the state,
I think when you see any kid go down and get hurt, you always want to play for them. But especially when she's, I've known her since I was in 6th grade when I met him. And we've trained together. We've been in the gym constantly. I know how hard she works, and just seeing something where anyone wants to go play in a state championship game and she didn't get to do that, you got to put all your thought into her and your heart, and just go do it for her. Just because she would want to be on that floor, but she can't.
Absolutely, no doubt.
The other thing too, I think that makes her. She had a year-long injury with her knee. So I think that, you know, I mean, somebody that's experienced that, you know, definitely, you know, probably has a greater understanding of what she's going through right then and there, and then what she's going to have to go through. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, she had a you know, a situation where she was coming back, you know, after a whole year and really understood that. So I think kids that have had you know, a major injury in their life really have a lot of empathy for, you know, kids that, you know, are experiencing it. So it was good for her to be there for her.
In preparing for Hoover in the state championship game, knowing you didn't have Camille, how different did that look for you guys? And knowing you had to slide somebody else in her spot, but I think with Camille, especially after watching her play defensively, it's a huge blow as well.
Yeah, she's our best defender.
On-ball defender. She was unbelievable. And I told everybody, you know, we were sitting around a group of coaches in the stands, and I said, on ball, I said, that's probably where it's going to hurt them the most. How different did that look for you guys at getting ready for Hoover?
Yeah, it was, you know, I mean, it was a difficult transition, you know, because, I mean, she's a 32-minute-a-game player, you know, so, you know, you've got, you know, it's one thing if you have a kid that's, you know, maybe plays 18 or 20 minutes, you know, or whatever, then you have somebody that's already playing 14 or 15 minutes. But when you got to replace a 32-minute player, that's a lot of minutes, and usually you're not going to be able to do that with just one kid, you know. Usually you're going to try to do it with a kid that's already got minutes, but if they've already got minutes, then they ain't going to be able to pick up all of hers. So it takes you deeper into your rotation than you probably, you know, were, because I think when everybody gets to the playoffs, I think everybody kind of shortens up their bench a little bit, you know, and that kind of stuff. And the guys that were coming in, I know she's a sophomore, but she's a really experienced sophomore. And the guys that we were going to have to make up time with were going to be mostly freshmen, and they were going to be post players. So they were going to play, you know, have to play a little bit out of position. And then it put a greater pressure on, you know, my three other guards. And I went to them, you know, in that morning, and the only thing I said to them was, "You can't get in foul trouble." So obviously that didn't work out very well. The only game she's fouled out all season.
I think it's the first game I've fouled out since my 10th grade year.
Yeah.
But and I know you fouled out with some time ago, and you had extremely difficult getting the ball in after she went out. What were those huddles like? You know, and I know you played a part in it as a leadership. I watched you.
Well, we only had one huddle.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
your timeouts were running
because
back.
it was the 2:03 mark when she fouled out, and I only had one timeout left.
Right.
And I
Didn't you actually call that with like a minute to go?
It was about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And I was at the edge of my coaching box, and I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, I just kept playing over in my head. All right, maybe we can go one more possession, and I could save it for another 15 or 18 seconds. Then we couldn't get the ball in bounds. And then the ball, you know, and then we had a good stand, and the ball went back out of bounds, and then we had to try to get it in, and then the ball got deflected, and it went back out of bounds. And I just kept turning, looking, and all my assistants were like, I don't know what to tell you. You're the.
He's like, he's
you're
turning around like,
earn your money.
Do I call timeout? Do I call timeout?
They're like, you got to make that decision, boss. So, you know, I don't know what it was. It just seemed like we had a little bit of. I just felt like if we could, because we were really struggling, and we didn't have any, like, these are the two best guys that we have as far as being able to get us in our press breaks and make decisions and those kind of things. We had 3 freshman post players out there, but then the other part to that was you were probably playing in front of over 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And it was happening on the other end of our bench.
Exactly.
So
away from you.
So I mean, I've got a loud voice.
It's loud. And
Those guys, I couldn't help them. You know, so it was like, you know, it was really kind of a roll of the dice. You know, it was, well, let's see if we can get it settled. Let's see if we can, get the ball in, and that possession we ended up getting the ball in, and I think we got fouled and went down and made 2 big free throws.
Massive free throws.
With a kid that's less than a 50% free throw shooter.
That's mad.
And so you're sitting there and you're like, I watched this kid. I've seen this kid shoot in games. I see this kid shoot in practice.
Yep.
She probably couldn't make 2 in a row with nobody in the gym and just us beating her. And she's standing there.
Wow.
And
It's like Camille said, it's meant to be, though.
well, there's no doubt. And trust me, Haley was up at the podium afterwards, was like, yeah, I knew this was my time. I was going to take advantage of it, And all I kept thinking about was the little guy in Hoosiers.
Oh, yeah.
Where he gets fouled, and he's like, I knew I was going to make them all the time. So, yeah. But it's a great moment.
When you got that 5th foul, and I seen you were like, I could see in your face, you was like, oh man, this is, and we don't talk about referees or anything on here,
Right.
but just say it's questionable, 5th foul, and you went out. How quick did you transition into, hey, I've got to get back in and get these guys focused up? And
Right. Well, I mean, of course, being a senior, you don't want to come off the floor. You want to lead your team. You started the season, you want to lead them, and you want to finish leading them. And, I was emotional coming out, and, personally, it wasn't because of that foul. It was probably because of the foul before that, because I put myself in that position. I missed a box out, and then I fouled the girl. So that was on me, and I knew that. And, going over to the sidelines, I had people on my ear, come on, you got to get up. You got to get up. And, I knew I had to switch and transition because, the leader on the team can't be over sitting on the bench putting their head down when you're up 4 points and you got 2 minutes to go. You got to show your team that you have faith in them. And I knew they had my back. They came off the sidelines right after I fouled out and said, we got you, Tim. And you got to trust that, and you got to lead them along the way and just pray that they can get it done.
One of the things that I think, and I know it was a long time before this, but the first game of the season we opened up with Anniston, who won the 4A state championship. Really good team, really good coach, and she started cramping in the 3rd quarter, and she played she was probably playing limping around late in the 3rd quarter, tried to play the first couple minutes of the 4th quarter, and then eventually they just took her in the in our little stairwell, and she was nowhere to be found. And we're out there, and like I said, they're 4A state champs, but they've got 7A talent on their team.
Oh yeah, they're very
and they
good.
were physical and athletic, and we're out there with a bunch of guys, and we ended up winning that game. We went down, and I think Camille hit a 3. We were down 3, tied it up, and we had this scramble, and we had another freshman, Alana Pooler. She hit 2 free throws with like 3 or 4 seconds on the clock, and we ended up winning the game. And I think you look back at that situation, and it was the first game of the season in November, and then the last game of the season kind of ends up the same way, and you got another kid that's a freshman and is making a play that, like when Alana went to the line in that game, she just moved here from Houston, so she had never played a game with us before at all.
Wow.
She stepped up and made those shots, and they just stepped up for that moment. So when we got in that state championship, don't get me wrong, when she fouled out 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I wasn't sitting there going, yeah, we got this. but we had been in a situation like that before, and our regular season prepared us for that, and our guys pulled it out.
And I also think that during that game, I wasn't shooting the ball well. And we had other guys who were stepping up and making points. If you looked at the stat sheet, it was like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like, it was, everyone had numbers. And I think just having the confidence in, they had my back during the whole game, and everyone was playing fluid, and we had great chemistry and just playing good together. I think that gave us confidence in, they've been doing this the whole game. Just keep doing it. Keep doing what you've been doing.
Absolutely. For you to be a senior and go out like that and win the MVP of the tournament and win a championship, and your hard work's paid off, and now you're passing it down to some of these underclassmen. What does it mean for you to go out like that?
It means everything, just because I know how hard they've worked and how hard that I've worked, and just knowing that, they wanted to win it for me, and they told me that, and that just means something to me. And I think that, I'm just thankful that I've been able to build a program up and be able to make 3 state championship runs, and just kind of make a culture for this team in this program of what's the expectation and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And, I just can't thank God enough for giving me a coach like him, because no one would have ever pushed me any harder. And just having great teammates. You can't be thankful enough that's all you want.
Absolutely.
And a state championship, that's just something that you get to say you did. But the legacy of building the program and making sure that they know that this is what that they have to do each year, and that's the expectation of how this program is something that I hope that will carry on throughout the rest of the time he's here.
Pushing the envelope on how good the program can be. Coach, for you to win it, in the situation you did, obviously with Camille getting hurt, Sarah Ashlee going out as a senior, what does that mean for you, and especially as bittersweet, but, to win one with your daughter at your side, and know where the state of this program is moving forward, what does it mean for you?
It's just like, it's validating for not me, but for us, and it's like every coach has a way that they do things. They have a way that they condition. That's the way that they have expectations for how their kids are supposed to act. They have an offensive philosophy, a defensive philosophy, and all that stuff. And what you want to do from a coaching perspective and from a program perspective is what we do the best. And so it's in 24 years, it's just been, tweaking it. This worked 10 years ago. It doesn't work this year. This worked with this group 8 years ago. Even when she was a freshman and a sophomore, the things that we did in our program, were a little bit different, and so it's trying to find that balance of, I was telling somebody the other day, they were like, what's it like coaching Sarah Ashlee? I said, it's a dream, to coach her from an individual perspective because of all the things that she brings to the table. But for me, from a coaching philosophy, in the 24 years that I've coached, I've never had a 24-point-a-game scorer and somebody that was as dominant as she was, especially on the offensive end, to be able to get buckets. I've always coached teams that kind of like what we were in the finals. A kid that scored 12, a kid that scored 11, a kid that scored 7, 8. You might have, in the course of 30 games, you might have 3 or 4 kids that are your leading scorers on different nights, where she's the leading scorer every night. And so, for me, it was an adjustment to, redefining other guys' roles, figuring out how to define all her roles, accentuate her strengths, but she's going to graduate, she's going to go to Georgia, and then next year we're probably going to go back to the type of team that I've coached for the other 23 years, where, she's going to have to take on, a bigger role, and Mackenzie and Avery and Haley and all these guys, and it's going to be more equal and more dispersed. But, so it's just, look, there's nothing like, if you go back and you look at the pictures all these guys posted on their social media and all that stuff, like the hugging, the tears. Like, there's a picture where her and Avery are running and they jumped up at midcourt. She was on the bench, Avery was on the floor, and they're literally, it looks like they're 8 feet off the ground. And it's like, those are the things that make all of this worth it.
Right. And we started the interview with Camille. I want to end it with you as well. With Sarah Ashlee graduating, like Dad said, it's going to be big chunk of this team's going to be yours next year, and you got a road of recovery, which I know you're going to complete ahead of you. What's your mindset winning this with your dad? How special was that? And in your role going forward, how you're going to have to prepare for that, because you're going to have to take on a lot of this next year.
I think this was really special for us. I mean, I know like it didn't end the way I wanted it to. I mean, it did, but like
Well,
not for
you
me.
guaranteeing victory and it happening. That's pretty special.
Yes. And like just the 24, like it's his 24th year coaching, and like my number's 24, his number is 24. Is
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think going forward, it's gonna be like I'll be a leader, but I won't be as dominant as she will. But I think I can still hopefully lead the team as well as she has in the past.
I got you. Guys, it's been an honor sitting in with you guys, and a pleasure. We're definitely going to stay in touch and follow your career. And, Coach, you guys are actually moving into an area with a team that we cover pretty good, Gadsden City. So we'll be seeing you guys.
Tell Jeremy we're coming for him.
I will. I will tell him, Coach Brooks. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
you.